Testing. Okay, there we go. Starting a little early to wait for folks to get into the stream. And so that I can turn on my microphone because I realized it's not attached to my headset and or even turned on. It was still charging. There we go. Some of it's wind, and some of it is, I think, tiki torches in the distance. Hello. For those tuning in, welcome to the Resonite Art Team Office Hours. I'm Aegis Wolf, part of the art team. Those tuning in want to ask questions, they can ask them within the Twitch chat. Although there are some that have been asked ahead of time that I'll go through first. But if you want to ask a question here, just end your comment with a question mark and it will pop up in the chat right here. Welcome Batplar and Electrospy to the chat. I do have something to showcase today too as well, and something to update on in regards of like a couple of questions that were asked last week as well. But while folks are still coming in, I'm gonna go to the Discord real quick and take a screenshot using ShareX so I can get the questions that were said at a time. Which we only have one this week, but I will get that real quick. There we go. Let's see here. Region capture. And there we go. It's accompanied by a interesting photo or picture. Alright. Well, it's just a very simple question from IMW. What is your main focus on Resonite? It's the simple question. Even though it's a bit vague of a question, I guess my main focus on Resonite in regards of like staff-wise has been to help create content, whether it be like the artwork that we've had and helping out with worlds, avatars, tools, things like that, dealing with modeling, texturing, animation, even scripting with Protoflux as well too. I help out a bit with UI as well too, not as much as others, but I do where I can. Even things like the camera I'm using to stream this, I helped like fiddle around with both the physical model of it that you can spawn out and the UI panel that's on there. Yeah. There isn't really too much else other than, I guess, main personal focus would be to build games in here. But that's pretty much it, I guess. It's a good question to start off of. Hopefully background noise isn't too loud. Yeah. I am in basically a new world called Stranded Paradise by Phoenix Neon. On a yacht, a small yacht, among shallow lagoon near an island full of like rocks, palm trees, and those tiki torches off in the distance. And there's a little pavilion behind me too. Ah, here we have a first question from Twitch chat, excluding the one about the background noise. So, when you work on stuff, this one's from Backblar. When you work on stuff, you typically store your intermediate versions and your backups in your inventory alone, or do you also sometimes use Resonite package files? There hasn't been a time I had to use a Resonite package file system yet for this, or for the stuff that we do, like projects, because we usually have our own storage. Like within, as a team, actually we have technically a few different types of quote-unquote groups that we utilize to work. One of them has like the spawn objects, which is like the defaults, like the default UI, the default tools for like when you are in desktop mode, the default camera, default avatar, etc. All those. And that's what the essentials also is, as well as a team projects folder that we have like stuff. For example, there's a subfolder for the universe project, the stuff for all our Dawn art style stuff, so that includes the stuff with that tutorial, like pretty much all the assets, and then also like a folder for worlds themselves too, structured within that too. And actually on that topic too, how we launch worlds or develop them, we have like two, technically three different versions depending on what it is. With the tutorial Cloud Home, for example, there's technically three different versions of it. There's an in-dev version of it, which is in its own folder. We do our changes to it first there before we basically override the live versions, which is the stuff that is default. For example, the tutorial or a default Cloud Home. Then once we know for sure it's ready, we overwrite those, and then we also have a version of it that's published using the World Publisher, and you can search it up within the World's browser. That is the third one. And we also overwrite that with the dev one once it's finished with whatever changes we want to do. Yeah. When we were in the testing phases of Resonite, when it was codenamed Durian, we even had a before like the cloud was fully set up, we had like when it was first set up, you had like a folder called persistent data, and like for the early like development for staff and like even some of the testers, we just shoved stuff in there while we worked, and it became like a dump folder. I still have to organize it, but there's still things in there that I have to like go through. But I usually am like categorizing things by like what kind of project it was for. Like for example, all the tools, which I'm like actually working on adjusting them a bit lately, so that we can update the brushes as well too. Making like a subfolder for that, organizing it, and even organizing it by what kind of like updates I've done to it. Things like that. We do have plenty of time here for questions. Welcome to the stream, Spoop. And we have a question from them. I will bring it up on screen here. Is there a way to increase the render distance in a particular world you are working on? Unfortunately, it is not world specific yet, though I believe a GitHub issue exists for it. So if you search that up for render distance, or far clipping, it's also called too, bar clipping, near clipping, just the ability to change the clipping distance per world, not just per avatar, which you can do. I have it on my avatar, for example, just so that I can use it for like testing or whatnot. That is a good feature to request. I did upload it myself too. Because having world-based settings is going to be a really useful thing as well too. For example, say you have different permission settings that you can set already, but also being able to, for example, um, like with the addition of avatar blocking in Resonite, there's going to be game modes that will require the players to be visible. And say if you join those worlds where as a specific rule exception for that, it would have that tag or have a kind of like a pop-up or warning about that map. It's like, hey, in order to keep this world running properly, you need like player visuals, even if it's like default visuals or whatnot per world on. So, as well as things like clipping distance, uh, ambient occlusion, or like render settings as a whole, like recommended world settings. Would be neat to have. And a follow-up question from Spobe. As I have it on my avatar, I can select my avatar and show you where I increase it. Okay, that's the render transform override, so I'm going to go back to... Okay, so I'm going to switch to smooth POV here. So you can see I got this here in my avatar utilities. Go to render settings here. And avatar render settings. Now before I show you like the stuff on that, I'll show you where you can find it. So when attaching this component, you go to users. Is it under here? Or no, it's under one layer deeper. Was it? There we go. Yeah. Kind of go over again. When you attach a component, it's located under users, common avatar system, and it's in alphabetical order for any of these components. So if you go to avatar render settings, right there, double click that, it'll attach it to, you can put it anywhere on your avatar, so I just put it under this utilities folder or parent object in there, and then yeah, essentially I recommend doing this when you're not in the avatar. Otherwise you could blind yourself with this, as in you can't see anything in the scene. Including the menu in front of you and your radio menu. So, yeah. Yeah, so when you set the far clip to whatever, you click the checkbox, then you click that, and change it whatever value you want, and then you enter the avatar, it will change. But initially, if you add it and then you mess around with it, nothing will change until you either equip the avatar or go out of the avatar and go back into it. So, yeah, but fair warning, do it on an avatar, or have an avatar on the hand that you can go into temporarily so you don't accidentally get yourself in a interesting situation. Let's see here. So, we see, actually I'm gonna demonstrate this too. Okay. Oh, yeah, now I don't see the island. Now I only see a little bit in front of me. Well, that's crazy looking. You could probably do some sort of like gameplay effect. The only thing that is still shown is the skybox material, But if I do 4000, that's what I had earlier. Now I can see the distant horizon. Whoop. There we go. Ah, yes, another question from Baplar. I suppose a common avatar builder could insert a slot on each spawn avatar to enforce a bar clip value mainly? In regards to something like that, I am not sure. That might be more of like a probable prime or Frooks / Cyro question on that one. As I don't know the entire capabilities of the avatar builder off the top of my head. But a good question to ask him. One thing I'd like to mention too, especially for those also like watching at a time too or after the fact, is one of the previous questions was about the selection. All right, the item submission system for like avatars, assets, or props, tools, etc. Yeah, throughout last year, we kind of learned how we could pretty much set it up in a way to be more manageable. And when we had the public folders so that people like submit them was much more manageable for both people that submit content to the essentials and for staff to like organize them. So we're gonna be using that method as well. We'll make like a more general like announcement and then the announcements of it too, and ask folks who have created folders to just if they essentially you submit a folder. Say if you have like custom tools that the community can use or a set of assets. You may have like probably a public folder out there that hasn't both, but it's probably best to submit each of them as a public folder individually, and we can set them into the folders that are like appropriate where they would be, say like the assets or the community tools or games, etc. And that way, if you make an update to those systems, you don't need to resubmit anything. You just update it in there. And one thing that was reminded to us about like how we deal with content policy on Resonite is that we're reactive and not proactive. It's pretty much how we treat how the worlds are uploaded onto here. Because it's impossible for us to go through every single submission and review every single slot, every single, like, piece of protoflux, etc. And it's better to go by, there's of course baseline things you can do that is automated, but there's still, it's better off to have it so that if someone has, like, say a piece of content breaks the guidelines or TOS or whatnot, that's more or less a thing that people would submit into a moderation ticket and it'll be handled there rather than like us reviewing every single piece of thing on the platform. So yeah, and I essentially think that would be the case too once we have the workshop system in here too, where people will be able to submit things in the same vein as a worlds, like the worlds for the worlds browser, which will be really nice. That means we don't have to do this submission process anymore. It would basically redundant. That's mainly the thing I wanted to go over this stream. Oh, and auto inject for like the far clip or whatnot. I'm not sure if that'll work initially because the only thing that is a problem for like the render settings and like injecting it into a user for like the inject slot for worlds is that they have to go out of the avatar and back in. And for those not familiar with the inject system, in every world there is a slot that you can assign that basically gets put under the user, not the avatar slot, but the user slot of each user that joins a world. That's how, say, like, if you have a radio menu option for, like, world settings, that's how people are able to do that, or culling systems. So, yeah. It comes pretty handy. Actually, I can showcase where it's located. There we go. So, if I go into the or controllers. Yep, controllers. If you find something that is like that, but recall. Okay, auto inject right here under Common Avatar Builder. That is the slot that you can use. I haven't really looked at all those settings in a while. Interesting. Here is a good question from Retro Gamer. Thanks for joining on the stream. I'll place it up here. Is there a video on using character controller for makeshift rigid bodies for Gravity and Collider until it's fully implemented? I don't believe there is, like, officially, but I do know there are systems out there that have been created, including one couple by myself with the help of others. Most notably, the username Skatamf, also known as Lexi. They've created quite a few vehicles that have derivatives of another or different parts of another vehicle system that was also made by Lucas Rowe and Ghost Z36 and Rushen and I of the Resonite team, as well as Gearbell. And there's like a few other like vehicle systems that Japanese community has made. There's some that I know that are kind of tangential or parallel to that kind of development. There's one where it's like a complete physical simulation of a car without a character controller, and that was interesting. It's called the Atom. And there's also a more recent one that I'd like to point you to if you go onto our Discord and search up under user creations. There's a forum there. And go to... There we go. You'll see a forum called Modular Physics Vehicles. And this one's by Electrospy, by Mars Mahante. A few others have been like helping here and there. And it's like crazy the amount of like detail it has. And it's modular. There's a couple of videos on it too, and a public folder within it too. I'm thinking since I'm working on another modular system to replace one that's in the Essentials projectile system, I'm like, okay, I could combine both that vehicle system they're messing around with a with the projectiles, and I'm like, what if I made a tank? Thinking of utilizing a art style that I had, which is like kind of Tron-esque, so I can make like a digital Tron-like tank and make that drive around and shoot like projectiles around. Oh, seeing you're mentioning about dice and cards and stuff. All right, I do not know, Arky. I gotta find who made this. I know who made the models, but people have utilized the rigid bodies, pseudo rigid bodies, using the character controllers for dice. If I go into there. Okay, question is, what do I roll? A 4. I lost. Damn. Again? Oh, I can't see it. An 18. Okay, I guess I did win in the end. The other polyhedral. So far I've seen I've seen all, like, the whole set, but I've seen this setup. It's basically just swapping the mesh and the colliders with the proper one. Tried changing the mesh. It don't recalculate the faces. Well, changing the mesh is one thing, but it's also changing the collider as well, too. And it's also scaling it at the proper scale. Right now, if you scale a character controller from what it originally was, it kind of acts differently. If you notice that it kind of falls slower, as if it's like in lower gravity. But if I change its scale is upper. Although, if you make a model and you scale the model down physically, it acts like an actual die. So, or actually, hold on. If I switch to a smooth POV, this is a ancient Greek dice that I 3D modeled years ago. But yeah, as you can see, it has like the same gravity. And if I scale this up, now it's moving even faster. Whoa! If I scale it even smaller than what it was, it's a little bit slower. Also, do note that this is not ideal compared to, say, an actual rigid body, but if you're just having like a few that people just occasionally roll their dice per turn, it wouldn't hurt. Same with like a vehicle system. You have like a few vehicles, like say like 5 of them, and you've optimized them to be efficient. Yeah, it's pretty fine. And like anything, it's best to make it modular. For example, the system that Mars Mahante and Electrospy has been doing, they're doing it completely in a modular way where you can add wheels, wings, thrusters, controller nodes for like steering wheel or flight sticks, and making it so that you can just delete them or add them. And I feel like once we have a better like actual physics system, a lot of that would be transferred over, where some of it wouldn't even need to be replaced, like the controller systems or the dynamic variables, because it'll still apply to whatever physics is doing. It's just a lot of the protoflux would probably be gone and replaced with protoflux that only deals with like the physics on a more uh, higher level, I guess. It's like how much force being applied or rotational torque. Although technically that is another thing that we could add to character controllers as well too, for the simple fact of when you're in zero gravity in here, when you spin around, you don't continuously spin. You just kind of stop wherever you stop spinning. And that would make zero G more realistic without having to do all the rotation math by hand. Rotoflux. And the hover bike system that I've made previously as well too also did the rotation math by hand. Isn't too bad, it's just when you're trying to change the pivot point of something that isn't the center of the object, it's a little bit difficult. As in a lot, at least for me. Where can I find info on them? Sorry, I guess there are no vids on just documentation. On the character controllers themselves, I did mention again, there is one that is in the Resonite Discord, but how to create it, there isn't really much yet. Though that'd be an interesting video I could potentially make given the time on my own channel. I do want to make more like tutorials and stuff, and like systems for games. As if you make like a sandbox of like systems, you can build games with them. Say like vehicles, leaderboards, or scoring system, health system, projectiles, weapons, or like transfer systems for like fuel or whatnot. Could just be all combined together and create a game out of it, or a simulator. Yeah. And as for like showcasing, the other thing I'd like to showcase too is update to that projectile system. Did showcase it last week because I was fixing an issue I had with it. Now it actually has all the features that the previous one in the Essentials has. But more. Oh, you can actually see the water moving. Interesting. Those are little decals that are being placed on there. As you can see, these projectiles can move in 3D space. They can ricochet off of surfaces. And those ricochets also can place decals too. That's why there's little dots across the place. And you can choose how many ricochets, the speed, and whatnot. But the number one important thing that I went through since last week is implement a feature that is called object pooling. And this could be a useful tool for users that are making things that are duplicated constantly, over and over again, using a template, but that are temporary objects. If you're duplicating something with a template, and it's like you're painting something with it, and you're wanting to bake it, this is not something for that. But if it's something that's like temporary, like a lot of temporary effects or whatnot, it's something good to look at. I'm going to open this up too to kind of showcase what it's going to be looking like once it's in the Essentials. It's pretty much the fourth iteration of this at this point. First version of this was at the very early stages of Resonite. I'm going to be replacing the ones for the crossbow and bow with it as well too, which should optimize the world a little bit. So upon opening this, you got the debug visual, which is just the box there. You got the projectile emitter. Also had like a well, actually that's probably not going to be there too, but there used to have been a particle effect, which you can technically substitute a projectile visual with it. It's going fast enough, and save on resources. So I might actually just keep it there. You got the particle source. So got all the variables in there. basically everything you need to change the aspects or whatever templates you want. There's the particle source, credits. I'm going to add a few more folks there that have helped me out. And also object pools. This is where a lot of the things happen in regards of duplication. So I'm going to start, oh, it's going up on my right hand. There we go. I'm going to start shooting these around. As you can see, some of them are turning on and off with like these little arrows. That means there's stuff underneath it. Now if we wait a little bit, you can see they start clearing up as well. It's because there's a, I guess you could call it a garbage collection, I called it, so it deletes whatever percentage you have within there. It kind of delete it in a more, I guess, slower manner so it doesn't constantly update things. Gosh. Sorry. But essentially it duplicates an object, shoots it out, then puts it back into there, and then checks if there's already something in there, then uses that instead of duplicating the template itself. And you got the templates there. And give me a moment while I hydrate. Oh wait, that doesn't mute me. Okay. Here we go. Something was tickling my throat. Ugh. Dust. Yeah. And even the protoflux within this, too, to go over, is all categorized and sectioned off. And for those probably wondering, since last time I've worked on this, I've actually gone through and properly organized the protoflux for the main core system, which looks more manageable than what it was, which was a spiderweb hell of a time of figuring out how it would work if you're not someone who's just reading the lines. So yeah, that's pretty much just the core system just in here. The previous version of the projectile uses, in my opinion, a cursed way of sending multiple sets of data into a thing for just for particles, but if it's for like instantiating like pieces of data for like users and such, might not be as bad, mainly because of lack of proper collections. But I got lucky with this. So the two pieces of data I had to use in order to, for example, place decals where they should be, as well as which slot that they are being parented under if it's toggled on, because you can toggle any of these kinds of effects. You can make it toggle if it's parenting a decal on something or not. But yeah, I can't send two pieces of data at once using what is called a dynamic impulse. I can only send one. So what I did instead is I have like a object that gets placed where the raycaster, the projectile, hits, and it's this little decal placer here. So it gets put in the rotation and position of where it should be at. Then it uses that location or where the decals are hit, and all it does, it gets whatever it hits the slot to parent it, and it gets sent over to a specific thing for like this decal system or the other decal system as well. Yeah. I know probably like half of you folks probably didn't understand half of that stuff, but it 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 was interesting, and it makes it work. Now you'll be able to make weapons or whatever kind of like games you want with this stuff. We'll even make like a fire hose with this, or quite a few other things with this kind of system. I do think there are some. Oh, okay, yeah. Splatoon paint. I mean, you could probably do like paint. You just change the type of decal it is, and you can change the lifetime of the decals as well. Although you probably have to add a thing where it doesn't delete itself, so probably a check on that, which should just be a simple like if statement to add onto it. Also, it even has like a raycast, which is like a laser that fires in front of it that checks if there's a surface that it can hit. This is directly in front of where projectiles come from. And this skips the entire process of using a projectile because it's right in front of where it hits. And if I put it at an angle, you can even still ricochet it. But it saves resources, and it stops the projectile from accidentally going through the object that is right in front of you. So, yeah. And I called that the point blank raycast check. It even has different types of gravity inputs that you can do. Right now, it takes the just general gravity of the container that a user's under. So, if you had like an upside down world, you could probably have that work. Or like walls or whatnot. It'll just respect the gravity that a user is under. And you can change the strength of the gravity as well. Yeah, the old one, how it sends data across different projectiles. Each projectile had a dynamic variable space, and those dynamic variable space determined its properties, how fast it's going, like its collision, hit detection distance, etc. That way I could separate the different passes of like the calculation, its rotation, its position. That's yeah. But I did manage to separate quite a bit of it into like different chunks so that it's easier to see different parts of the system. But due to the fact that it's using what is called asynchronous context, it's basically like instancing, but for like a protoflux script. Instead of, and even before async, if you wanted a projectile to be having like all these properties, you would have to duplicate each individual piece of protoflux that deals with controlling it. Now it's just you have one single thing, and depending on like what duplicate it is, it just runs the code for every single projectile fired and decal placed. So it's really cool. Gravity darts. Interesting. Could make a dartboard and use this projectile system for it too. I've seen people make similar systems where you can play darts in Resonite. About the GIF, somebody actually sent me that GIF of the 6-7 meme in the Discord. It's like, oh, Okay, the meme mentioning the meme almost killed me. I don't know why. I'm not going to mention that meme again. I don't know if that's the reason, but that was funny. Um, yeah. Somebody sent me that GIF randomly. I have no context of like that show or animation series, but thought it was interesting and funny. And then realized someone posted another GIF from it, and then someone posted a GIF of me doing the meme on the recap stream, and then was like, you know what, I'm just gonna post that as a response. God, can we leave that in 2025? Uh, mentions meme. World almost crashes. I like the. There is one thing I want to take from it, and it's the number 7. And that's a common thing for those unaware within Resonite. It is a common thing amongst staff members to at least mention the number 7 at least sometime. Sometimes even daily, the number 7. Prime and Frooks can tell you about that. You could probably ask them about the number 7. We're probably just as uh, obsessed with it as Bungie when they were making like the Halo games. And Destiny 1. Probably gonna be playing a little bit of Hytale after this too. That just recently came out the 13th, and that's like yesterday actually. Because today is the 14th. It's pretty fun. Curious on what their scripting system is gonna be. I see. Another funny number that comes to mind, of course, is 42. And that's the meaning of life. It always ever will be. It's 42. Didn't get a 7. Now it did, okay. If folks still have questions for your team office hours, please feel free to ask me. Just pretty much about 9 minutes left until it's a full hour. And if folks, don't worry if you do miss your chance to ask a question. There's always the forum post in Discord. And next week, I usually do every Wednesday these streams. Sometimes with Rue. Rue's not feeling well, so he's taking it easy. So it's just me this time, and every Tuesday Prime does his on Discord. You can find all this info as well for like the streams and that on our Discords or the events panel within the Essentials. There's also the Resonance podcast, which is every Sundays with Fruits and occasionally Cyro. And also the moderation office hours a bit earlier on Sundays. And I believe every other week, J4 does their what they call the purple hour as well. Kind of like how Prime calls his the prime time. Quick question from Retro Gamer. I am not sure if the D20 is available on hand. I honestly don't know where the public folder for this is, but if I do run into you, I can send it to you. It's definitely the model I've seen before, and it's made by a couple of folks in here. And it's open. The character controller set up. I don't know who did it. You got the 20. Well, what do you win? Were you fighting a monster? Were you bartering for a sword or something, or merchant for merchant or something? Gosh, I could probably tell stories about the D&D club that we had at high school. It was insane. Oh yeah, the purple one is a dodecahedron, or D12. There's also, I know, a D6, which is your standard six-sided die. Also, within the same modeler that did this one, also did D4, D10, which, for those unaware, you can use two D10s to basically go from 0 to 100, which is pretty cool. It's like a percentage. Some game modes actually use a percentage check instead of a traditional 20-sided die. But yeah, I think either I might... Actually, what time? Still got 5 minutes left. Trying to think if there's anything else I'd probably mention. It's still a bit early in the year about like stuff that we're working on as the art team, but I know Fergus just got home from traveling abroad yesterday, and people are still like getting back from also CES. I know Bob's been there, as well as Rusty Bot as well. It's been a lot of interesting things within, like, throughout the Christmas break and holidays, and New Year's. My opinion, though, about CES, I see that there's a lot more, and from what Bob was saying too, it's a lot more AI stuff than VR stuff, but the people that are still in the industry still go there to check it out, because there's tangential things there related, and like, you know, talk, showcase tech or software. But I don't know, it was a bit weird seeing this stuff there, at least online. My Resonite username, I mean, Aegis_Wolf. Capital A, capital W. BlackBerry's AI supported? Yeah, the amount of weird things with AI being shoved into everything is just... It's a bubble. It's gonna pop at some point. And we have RAM at prices that aren't costing a kidney. I could go on and on. But all in all, I think VR is going to have an interesting year today. Or this year. Today. Uh, Words. The Steam frame is coming. Soon. DM. Don't know when. Gaben, please give Frooks a dev kit so that we could support it properly. Though I did find out, too, looking at forum posts within our Discord, that apparently a Steam frame will default to a like a Quest controls for the controllers, which is good because for like lots of VR titles, having that kind of compatibility is crucial for keeping people being able to have like a huge library of Steam games to play from, not just traditional games but also VR titles. But yeah. That and the Fluxpose trackers will make VR quite interesting this year. Yeah. Well, on that note, I'm gonna be wrapping up the stream here. As always, every single week, we do this stream. You can see the notifications in the Resonite Discord, as well as within the events facet, as well as I'd like to get into the habit of showing these, which is our Resonite supporters list that is always updating as new users support us. So this will show the latest folks supporting us, and like to thank them as well. We got Sidereal Scout, Ikari Akamori, Zekri, Earthmark, right there. We got also Big Red Wolfie, VR Exist, Brodock, Chevron 7, BD underscore, Jack the Fox Otter, Skilthasar, jeez, Rix, Metion, Ikani, Starla, Stiefel Jackal, Matador, 2011, Mira SK, Taskin, Takosin, VZ, Jinx, Tiest, Micro, Random Meatball, MKE, Zephyr, The Fox, Keith, KUB, Yoru, Zaizu, Water, Annie, Lotus Gaming Faith, and Kirtron, as well as many, many here, and many more. Just to show you folks how much more. Imagine reading all of this. This is like every single supporter. Look at that. That's crazy. Yeah. Well, hope everyone has a good afternoon or morning, depending on where you are. And stay safe out there. And have a good one. Bye-bye.